Of all the mechanics in Civ 6, amenities may be the most poorly understood of all by the average player. There are a ton of misconceptions about amenities floating around online. They're only important later in the game. Building a lot of entertainment complexes is a good way to achieve high amenities, and even the belief that they're not that big of a deal. Let me be upfront here. Amenities are a massive deal at all stages of the game, and understanding this is critical for maximizing what you can get out of your empire. So, in today's video, we'll be looking at how amenities work, what they do, and how best to obtain them. First, let's set the stakes. How important are amenities really? In practice, there are only really 4 amenity breakpoints to be concerned with. Unhappy, where cities have 1 to 2 less amenities than they demand, resulting in minus 10% to all non-food yields and minus 15% population growth. Content, where cities have 0 to 2 more amenities than they demand, resulting in no changes to yields. Happy, where cities have 3 to 4 more amenities than they demand, resulting in plus 10% to all yields. And lastly, ecstatic, where cities have 5 or more amenities than they demand, resulting in plus 20% to all yields. Now, what exactly is meant by all yields? In this case, I'm referring to production, gold, faith, science, and culture. The importance of having high amenities, therefore, cannot be overstated. Furthermore, achieving high amenities is especially imperative in the early game, as Civ is a game based around snowballing. Especially in competitive multiplayer, which this channel focuses on, having more amenities means being able to outcompete other players for wonders, cool, great people. Oh, we got him. We actually got him. City-state control, and more. A small advantage can quickly become insurmountable. But how do amenities actually work? First off, we'll address how cities come to demand amenities. Every time a city grows to a new odd-numbered population, it'll demand 1 additional amenity. At 1 pop, they demand 1, at 3 pop, they demand 2, and at 5 pop, they demand 3, and so on and so forth as the city grows. Our capital starts with the palace building in it, which grants 2 amenities, meaning it can't go into the negative until it reaches 5 population. But what of our other cities? Well, they'll demand 1 amenity right away, so that they can go straight into the negative when settled, becoming unhappy and receiving minus 10% to all yields and minus 15% to population growth. Because of this, it's imperative that our second city be settled on a tile with a luxury resource, as this will prevent it from going negative and greatly increase our tempo. If this seems overly restrictive and luck-based to you, you're not alone. The multiplayer community eventually got fed up with just how massive the difference there was between having a luxury resource to settle on versus not having one, and so the Better Balanced Game mod stepped in and took action. So far, everything I've said has applied to the vanilla game. But now, we're going to start stepping into my wheelhouse of multiplayer Civ 6 with the Better Balanced Game mod to discuss how amenities were adjusted for a more competitive environment. There are really only 2 changes made to amenities by BBG. First, non-capital cities demand 1 less amenity at all stages of the game. This reduces the role luck plays in the early game, as settling a luxury resource is no longer such a massive advantage. However, in order to prevent the game from becoming too fast-paced, the overall power of amenities had to be brought down. Unhappy cities and contented cities are unchanged in BBG. However, happy cities now only grant 8% extra yields, and ecstatic cities only grant 16% extra yields. Don't be fooled, however, the effects of amenities remain very substantial. Okay, so how do we actually get our hands on amenities in the most efficient, pragmatic way possible? The first and most important method is through obtaining luxury resources. Each unique luxury resource we own at least 1 copy of will provide +1 amenity to 4 cities in our empire. These amenities will always be distributed to the cities most in need, and will shuffle their distribution around automatically every single turn. Consequently, all of our cities will almost always have roughly the same number of amenities as each other, and the more cities and citizens we have in our empire, the harder it'll be to maintain high amenities. Typically, we should prioritize improving our luxury resources right away. However, owning duplicate copies of a single type of luxury resource will not provide any additional amenities. This doesn't mean, however, that we shouldn't still improve our duplicate luxuries as soon as possible, as we can still trade our duplicate luxury resources for copies of luxuries that we don't already have. In free-for-all multiplayer games played in CPL, trading gold, strategic resources, and cities is illegal. However, trading luxury resources is allowed, and doing so is highly lucrative. We want to trade our duplicate luxuries for luxury resources we don't have yet at every opportunity. One important thing to note is that each continent in the game will only have exactly 4 different types of luxury resources on it. So in order to meet players who have luxuries we don't have yet, we ought to use the continent lens in order to find which direction to scout in. Luxury resource trading is often done on a first-come, first-served basis, so we want to meet players from other continents as quickly as possible and improve our duplicate luxury resources as early as possible. If we're too slow, somebody else may trade our continent's set of luxury resources to the rest of the lobby first, and then we won't have any bargaining power. A common noob mistake in multiplayer is trading for a luxury resource that you already have. You see, the trading menu cannot be trusted to actually list every luxury resource you've already obtained. The only resources shown here are the ones you have improved in your own land. Luxuries which were obtained by trading with other civilizations or by becoming suzerain of a city-state will not be shown here. If we want to know exactly which luxury resources we already have, we have to check the resources menu, which we can find by clicking up here in the top right of the screen. Here, we can see at a glance every single resource that we already own, as well as who else in the lobby already has duplicate luxury resources available to trade. Checking this screen regularly to stay on top of luxury resource trading is a big part of how strong players are able to maintain high amenities throughout the game. Aside from luxury resources, there are a number of other important ways to get your hands on amenities. First and foremost is the Classical Republic government. This government grants +1 amenity and +1 housing to every city with a specialty district. If this is pushing our cities from +2 amenities to +3 amenities, that means it's granting us an additional 8% to all yields in our empire. So, it's no wonder that Classical Republic has established itself as the default government of choice in multiplayer Civ 6. Amazingly, we don't even have to lose the bonus amenities from Classical Republic when we upgrade to the next level of governance. You see, whenever we complete a building in our government plaza, we're granted access to a legacy policy card based on the government we were in at the time. In our case, this card is Republican Legacy, which incredibly grants us +1 amenity and housing in each city that has at least one specialty district. In 90% of games, we'll keep this policy card in our government for the entirety of the time that we spend in our Tier 2 government. Another important policy card for gaining amenities is liberalism, unlocked at the Enlightenment Civic. Often overlooked by new players, this card frequently grants more stats than any other economic policy card we have available at the time. If it's pushing all of our cities from +4 amenities to +5, we can imagine it as granting 8% extra science, culture, production, gold, and faith empire-wide. We can also gain bonus amenities through the suzerain bonuses of certain city-states. Muscat, Zanzibar, and Buenos Aires are some examples. Furthermore, by becoming its suzerain, we also gain a copy of any luxury resources the city-state has improved in its land. At this point, you may have noticed the conspicuous absence of a certain specialty district whose sole purpose is granting amenities. That's right, it's finally time to talk about the entertainment complex. While it does grant amenities, it simply doesn't grant enough to be worth it early on. The district itself sucks, and the arena that can be built in it also sucks. Unless we're going for the Colosseum, which is one of the best wonders in the game for your information, we don't actually want to build an entertainment complex at all until fairly late in the game. Eventually, however, this district finally gets its time to shine upon unlocking the Natural History Civic, which grants access to constructing the zoo. Zoos grant +1 amenity to every city center within 6 tiles of the district they're built in. However, each city can only gain an amenity from a single zoo, so we generally only ever build 1 or 2 of these buildings in our entire empire in order to avoid wasteful overlap. Furthermore, the same civic that unlocks zoos also unlocks water parks, in which we can build an aquarium for essentially the same effect. In fact, aquariums are even better, as their area of effect is 9 tiles rather than just 6. In this game, building a zoo pushes our cities from +5 amenities to +6 amenities. This seems wasteful at first, as bonus yields from amenities cap at +5. However, what this zoo is actually doing is allowing us to take out the liberalism policy card without dropping any of our cities below ecstatic. Essentially, it's acting as a free economic policy card slot. Eventually, however, there comes a point where being ecstatic goes from a challenging minigame to essentially being free. This point is in the late modern era of the civics tree, when we gain access to the democracy government and the professional sports civic. Democracy grants us access to the New Deal policy card, which provides +2 amenities and +4 housing to every city in our empire that has 3 or more specialty districts. Make no mistake, this is essentially the single best policy card in the entire game, being a massively upgraded version of Republican Legacy. The professional sports civic, on the other hand, grants us access to a new building for both the entertainment complex and the water park, the stadium and the aquatic center. These 2 buildings both grant +3 amenities in their area of effect. When peacefully simming to a science or culture victory, these buildings are completely overkill and essentially worthless. But when we're massively growing our empire through late game conquest, they can serve a critical role in keeping our citizens ecstatic. Now, get out there and keep your people happy. Believe me, it'll make a world of difference in terms of the pace you're able to achieve in Civ 6. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you want to catch full games of Civ 6 multiplayer live, be sure to follow me on Twitch. I also have a variety of playlists on this channel containing guides on the multiplayer meta for Civ 6 with a better balanced game mod, so be sure to check those out if you're interested in ever dipping your toes in yourself. That's all for today. Herson signing out.